Hacking Self-Storage listeners, it gives me massive pleasure to welcome Tommy McNee. Tommy, how are you doing, buddy?
Very well, Dean. Pleasure to be here. How are you?
Buddy, I am absolutely terrific. I'm over my coronavirus now. I know we were supposed to do it last Wednesday or Thursday sometime, but I was literally coughing my head off. I didn't know I had coronavirus at that time. But yeah, I'm allowed out. Today is my first day, by the way, I'm allowed out, so I'm over the moon.
I think the ability just to get out, it's almost like you're imprisoned in your own home, isn't it? And the ability, and when your freedom is taken away from you in that isolation period, it's like a celebration, isn't it? It's almost like a birthday or a Christmas when that day of freedom comes.
Honestly, it's like it's a mindset thing, because normally I'm quite positive, I'm upbeat, but stuck inside, not being able to do anything. It's just no wonder people get down and depressed and stuff. I was just telling you before, I'm very lucky because I live on the back of a field, back of a farmer's field, and I was getting my steps in by walking on a muddy farmer's field because there's nobody about. So, I was going out there. But normal people, I mean, Jesus, their mindset must be really taking a bashing if you've got to isolate for 10 days, 14 days, 7 days, whatever it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that the real pandemic is going to be mental health when we come right back out the other side of this. However long that may take, it seems to be we come out of it, then we go right back into the depth of it. But yeah, I think the mental health aspect is going to be astronomical once we sort of come out of it and everything settles down.
I 100% agree. So, Tommy, as the listeners probably know, I know you very, very well, but they don't know you. So if you could tell the listeners a little bit about you, buddy, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm Tommy. I'm a father of 3 lovely children, a daughter, Eva, who is 14, a son, Freddie, who is 8, and my second son, Jackson, who is 4. Those are always my priority. I'm also a director of a removals and storage firm, which is sort of how me and Dean became to know each other. I found hacking self-storage, then of course motivated entrepreneurs very early in my podcasting and self-development journey. I'm an avid listener. And from there, basically, I became fascinated by my career. I put everything into growing the business, building a team. And with that, at the back end, my health started to suffer. It suffered to an extent. I was at the doctor with high blood pressure. I was speaking to healthcare professionals about, you have to think of longevity of life. And it wasn't so much that it was becoming life or death, but I was becoming more and more reclusive. I was becoming less and less of the Tommy that everyone knew. And I, from that point, just started to look into and delve into nutrition, which I've studied now for over 2 years. I changed my life through nutrition. That was a catalyst to change everything for me. And now I help other people do the same.
And by the way, I'll get to your story in a minute. I just want to tick off a box in self-storage. So basically, you've got a removals and self-storage business right now. How is it going? How is it performing?
It's going well. It's going well. So predominantly we are a removals business with domestic storage, which has the what is our purpose-built wooden containerized storage, which is indoor. We have 44 indoor self-storage units, which are full. So after listening to the podcast, we are looking to implement a price increase.
Have to.
We are just looking to see at what point, because we've had people who have been in there for 3 or 4 years and have never had an increase. And I think the trap that I fell into and us as a business fell into are the exact same trap that you fall into that first mastermind, that you thought you were the best thing since sliced bread because you were more full than everybody else and people were telling you were doing it wrong. So I've learned a lot from the podcast, and we have only just recently taken in 10 20-foot shipping containers with the view to expand that to 100 once we can get hold of them. So the first 10 are full. We're waiting on 20 more coming. It'll be a case of basically running them up to 25 full, bringing in another 20, and that's going to be a big thing for us this year in pushing self-storage. We are just changing from Monday to Friday 9 to 5 access into 24/7, which has been difficult because of component parts involved and Brexit, and no one can get material. So we're a little bit delayed, but no, it's going really well, and the storage has been a saviour for our business with coronavirus and, the removal industry taking a real big hit. If it hadn't been for the storage, I might not even be sitting on this podcast.
So, buddy, that sounds amazing. So you've got a really exciting 2022 then, having all those extra containers coming in. I mean, I know it's a big capital expense, but ultimately will pay for themselves in hopefully about 18 months' time.
That's exactly it. And it's just playing the long game. We have to I've done removals all my life since I was 15 years old. I stopped going to school. My dad had a small removal company, and he just hauled me out of school and said, right, you're working. I'm not having you sitting around the house.
Yeah.
But the more and more we look and lean into driver shortages, we've just taken 2 new vehicles that are £125,000 each. We can't get drivers in. We're having to pay over the top, which is fine because supply and demand sort of dictate that. But the longevity of removals and driver shortages, we started to have thinking about, okay, the business as a whole, if we cannot get drivers and we cannot facilitate the level of inquiry we're getting, how do we increase our profit margin, increase our revenue? It's got to be storage. And we've always relied on the removals and storage working in tandem. But now opening up to more public football in the self-storage era, it's a complete no-brainer.
Yeah. So with removals, I always look personally for like the Amazon flywheel effect. So what businesses can I bolt on that will help the growth of my business? And the running cost won't be as much for me as it would be for somebody else because it's a connected business. And so removals and storage always seems to have that synergy. The problem is with removals that when I look at, I just think it looks hard. And I've got a couple of friends who's had removal businesses, don't have removal businesses anymore. Somebody else has got one. It just seems very, very labor intensive, and there seems to be a lot of work. How do you guys find it? Do you find it hard?
It's labour intensive. So we're based in a place in Broxburn, which is 10 minutes from the city centre of Edinburgh. So we came out of the city to build our warehouse, just for rates and prices are a little bit different. So we're really well placed. It is labour intensive, especially in the city, because there's a lot of tenement flats. A lot of buildings are second and third floor flats. But we do so much work with our staff in terms of culture, in terms of team building. As removals is in my blood. It's the only thing I've ever known. And then obviously with learning storage, a lot of our drivers get 4 or 5 weeks in Europe. So they're getting maybe 4 or 5 holidays a year because we're sending them down to Spain and back. So they may be working 3 days of a 2-week trip. And, the other sort of 10, 11 days, they're just driving, they're enjoying the sunshine. So we place a lot in culture, we place a lot in team. We have drivers who come from a haulage industry who are on their own, they're lonely, they've only got their radio for company, and we bring them into a team and they work with a team and they have great banter, and customers are great supplying us with lunches and teas and coffees, and we just really play on the positives. It's a hard job, it's labour intensive, not every day is a good day, but we try to just hold it in positive regard and make it look appealing, which it can be. I've been in the industry 16 years and I won't ever do anything else.
Yeah, I love it. Right. So we're benched off storage and removals now. The reason I got you in here, because I think it's crucial and so critical and so important people look after their health. And I've personally worked with you. And for me, it was one of the best experiences of 2021. But not only just working with you for that limited period, you give me the tools now. Like I was just saying before, I drank too much. I ate too much over Christmas. And I probably put on about half a stone and where I want to be. And because of the tools you give me, I was able to quickly, within 8 days, lose that weight very, very quickly, very, very safely. And I felt good about myself as well. And I think people's mindset is so, so important in conjunction with their health as well. And so that's why I wanted to get you on to talk about your experience. There was a story you shared with me on the phone. Honestly, it nearly brought me in tears. And I wonder if you could I was laughing, I was crying. It was absolutely fantastic when you went away with work and stuff. And that's when you just thought, you know what, I need to change. Something needs to give.
Yeah, so that story relates back to a business meeting. I flew over to Belfast for a business meeting. And of course, the night before I packed all my clothes, I was ready, I was prepped for the meeting, of course. I flew over to Belfast. I stayed in a beautiful hotel, and the people who were holding the meeting the following day had said, would you like to go out for some dinner and a couple of drinks the night before, sort of as a little bit of an icebreaker, that's how we do business. I said, yeah, absolutely, that'd be fantastic. I arrived in the hotel, I had a couple of hours work to do, so, as you do, sort of just pinged away on a laptop, and then I thought, okay, time is getting on, I best start getting ready. So about 3 o'clock in the day, I thought we were going for dinner at 5, and I started getting ready. I had brought with me at the time, because my weight was so extreme, 7 different outfits. I had 3 suits and 4 outfits for the day before. I tried all of those outfits on. I couldn't feel comfortable. I was pulling t-shirts off that were clinging to me. I was up at the borderline at XXL at the time. The only other place I could get a bigger size would be something like Giacomo. I was fighting to stay in the high street shops at the biggest size they had. And I end up in tears. And I've got no qualms saying that at all. I end up sitting on the edge of a bed crying and really about to send a text message to say, I'm really sorry, I can't attend dinner. And when that text message nearly got sent, I was going to make an excuse. And I thought, if I can't attend dinner, I can't attend the meeting. And this was a big partnership that we were trying to build in Northern Ireland for a UK to Northern Ireland service. And I spent about half an hour debating on whether to send that text message or not. I had no clothes. I was sitting in my underwear crying on the edge of a bed at the age of 32 years old. And I had no escape. I had nowhere to go. And so I tried to get myself together. And I ran massively out of breath. So I thought I ran. I probably walked quite fast, but I felt like I was running to a shop to try and get something to wear. And there's a picture that I have that I shared on social media where I'm wearing female clothes. I'm wearing a female denim shirt and a female scarf. And it is the only thing that I could find in any high street shop that would fit me. It didn't cling to me. I've got a scarf on sitting in a restaurant to try and cover me up as much as possible. And that was the leverage that I needed. And on that flight home from Belfast, I managed to brave it, put on a brave face, go out for dinner. I managed to buy the biggest shirt I could find. I couldn't wear a suit. I couldn't get a suit jacket on for the meeting. So I wasn't as professional as I wanted to be. And on that flight home, there was just a switch that flicked. I couldn't live my life like that anymore. And so I set out on a journey, quite an extensive and quick journey to turn my life around just from that night in Belfast.
That's awesome, mate. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I do think that so many people can relate to that. And by the way, if you now saw Tommy looks like a superhero, literally muscles bulging every part of his body. There's muscles, and he when he says he's turned his body around, incredibly so. How long did it take you to turn around from where you was, Tommy, to where you are now?
So initially, the most dramatic weight loss and the transformation photos that people see were over a 6 to 7 month period.
That's incredible.
You know, it was pretty quick, and it's basically down to what I would call strategically rapid fat loss. It's not a crash diet or anything, but it's something that I went away and studied extensively. When I say studied, I done a year's nutrition course, so I became qualified. I study every Tuesday evening on the new science, on the new data, on the new peer-reviewed studies that come out across all nutritional practice. And I just implemented it, and I just kept on going. Quite as simple as that. There was nothing complicated to what I was doing. It was just getting consistent.
Yeah, that's incredible, Tommy, to have that mindset, not just to go on a diet, a crash diet or anything like that, but you actually looked into the reasons why people lost weight and looked at all these studies, peer review studies. I think it's incredibly respect. I just got the most admiration, buddy, for what you have gone through, buddy. And now, but not only that, now you're helping other people. So what you do now is you help busy professionals, people like listen to this show who ultimately we haven't got a lot of time. We don't. We're very, very time poor. A lot of people listen to this because we're busy. We're either at work all the time, and then when we come home, we've got wife, we've got kids, we've got responsibilities. It's hard to fit in going to the gym 3 or 4 or 5 times like we used to when we was younger. So you help them sort of individuals lose weight. Is that correct?
That's exactly what I do. I help people like me who are running businesses or who are putting their career as a priority before themselves learn to realize that, first of all, if we take the analogy of, if a plane is going to crash, they will tell you the first thing to do is to put your own oxygen mask on first. If you start putting other people's oxygen masks on first, you will die and you can't help anybody. So in order to be the best boss, the best director, the best CEO, the best project manager, whatever role you're in, you have to prioritize yourself so you can be better at impacting everyone and every people around about you, whether it's family, friends, relationships, colleagues. And I use nutrition as a catalyst of that. I use to give you better sleep, to give you better energy, to really have that impact. And that, when you wake up in the morning, you look forward to the day. You don't have to rake through your wardrobe and go through 10, 11 different outfits because you've got a meeting that day. You're literally just pulling a shirt off the hanger and off you go because you've built the confidence, and I help you build that confidence to be able to do that.
Yeah, I've got to say, with my journey with you, it was my 40th birthday. I never thought I was overweight or anything, but I was getting, like I said to you, I was getting a dad bod over time, and it was just slowly but surely sneaking up on me. Unfortunately, back then I couldn't go to the gym because of my back. I was having problems with my back again. Luckily now, by the way, I'm back at gym and stuff. I absolutely love it. But back then I couldn't. So it's not as though you need to go to the gym for this to work. And I lost, I mean, I say a stone, but it's a bit of an exaggeration. I lost 13 and a half pounds. So I round it up to a stone. And I did that over a long period of time. And it sounds stupid, this, but it's a lot easier than I ever imagined. Do you get a lot of that feedback?
Millions. What I've always saying as a mantra that I've used is that fat loss is simple. It just isn't easy. So a lot of people, it's simple. It's a simple mathematical equation. You run, I mean, every single week, you tell us your numbers, your KPIs, the leads, the conversions. We do exactly the same. Nutrition is a numbers game. There is nothing complicated. And it's not easy because we're humans and we have psychological behavior and we have people trying to pull us into the pub for after work drinks. So there has to be a degree of sacrifice initially to learn and to educate. And what I always say to people is, if you think of me as a driving instructor, if you're unable to drive, you go and find the best instructor who's going to get you to pass your test in the quickest possible time. Some people will take 40 driving lessons. Some people will take 10. But their job is to take you from not knowing anything, not knowing what pedal to press, not knowing what the gears do, to educating on you all of that, to make you safe and secure, to put you on the road, to get a driving license and that pass certificate. And then they step back, and for the rest of your life, you know how to manage the road, you know how to drive on motorways, you know how to go on single track lanes. And that's exactly what I do. I bring you in knowing nothing or being confused because the internet is confusing. I educate you. Like when we work together, I said, this is why we do it. This is why we track the numbers. This is why the data is important. And now you don't need me because you've passed your test and you can go out in the open road. And when you know you have to rein it in, you know what steps to take, what steps to implement. And that's all I do. I educate you. And when you're educated and you're empowered and you can impact other people by knowing this, all I ask is that when people say, how do you know that? You say, I used to work with Tommy. That is quite simply it.
Do you know as well? I used to have fish and chips. Even working with you, I had fish and chips. I had McDonald's. I had beers, and it was literally it's how to incorporate all that into your normal life. And I used to chastise myself before about having a McDonald's and feeling really bad about it, but it's not about that. It's about living a balance, and that's what you ultimately taught me. And the reason why I feel like I'm pushing this so much is because so many people out there aren't living life to the full. When you go on holiday, how do you feel when you take your top off? And it doesn't have to be like that. When I went on holiday for the last time, it was the most confident I've ever felt. I mean, the wife, she, instead of her looking in the mirror, and by the way, please don't ever get this wrong where I think I've got like a six pack or anything like that. But for me to look actually toned in my body and everything fit perfectly, I was like, I felt so confident, and that is the gift that you're giving people, like the confidence that you are providing. And it's not just about the weight loss; it's about caring about the individual as well, and the mindset and the growth. And I think you incorporate all that as well, because self-care is so important, mindset is so important, and being positive as well, having a positive outlook on your life.
Yeah, I mean, but within my private coaching platform, we have a resource centre. And of course, everything's centralized, and a catalyst is always nutrition. And you're so right in what you're saying. Every single food, there is no good food, there is no bad food. Every single food, whether you're talking pizza, chocolate, chicken breast, salmon, they all just carry a macronutrient value. Macronutrient values, without getting too scientific, are just protein, carbohydrates, and fats. They all have a value. For an example, just to give an example to give people something to take away, is 100 grams of chicken breast contains 23 grams of protein. So does a yogurt. Your body doesn't know that you're eating chicken breast or eating yogurt. It just knows that it's ingesting and trying to digest and process 23 grams of protein. It's just a numbers game. You can have fish and chips, you can have McDonald's, you can have chocolate, and it is about that lifestyle balance of not feeling guilty, not having anything to put you off, not being worried about having to go out for dinner and drinks if you're doing business that way, if you're attending networking events. And to support that, the mindset and what I call creating leverage. So people will always say, you need a why. you need a big reason why. And people will often tell me, oh, I want to be healthy for my kids. And I'll say, with all due respect, that isn't enough. It's not. Oh, I want to look good naked. I'm going on holiday. I'm getting married. That isn't enough. It really isn't. And what I call, rather than looking for a reason why, I tell people, go away and create some leverage. And the leverage often comes from a point of pain. Like that night I sat in Belfast in tears. It comes from putting on a shirt that doesn't fit, a dress that doesn't fit. It comes from something that is so painful that you want to escape from. And it's very easy to escape because you're running away from pain. And each week that you lose weight and you drop a collar size or a dress size, that pain becomes less. So you end up maybe, let's say, half a stone to a stone down away from the pain point, but you're not where you want to be. So that reason why is why you've escaped from the pain point, but it's only going to take you so far. You need leverage at that point because the point of pain is just the start. And that's where the mindset, the development comes in, because once you've escaped from that pain and you've ran away from it, you don't have to look over your shoulder. We're not looking back anymore. We're looking forward. But what are we looking forward to doing? And that comes down to visualizing who you want to be. I've done a lot of work on that. I pictured myself in a really sleek, tailored fitted suit. I picture myself in my briefcase, walking in, shoulders back, chest up, smiling, confident, knowing that when I walked into a meeting, people would know that I meant business and they'd be turning heads saying, look at this guy. When that point of pain left me, it's very easy to sit in that period of mediocrity where you don't care too much about how you look anymore, but you're miles away from where you want to be, and you have to create a leverage to lean against to continue to move forward. And that's all about the mindset and development.
Oh, do you know, I absolutely love that. And when you said pain, you gotta have to create some leverage. Something cropped up in my mind that I haven't thought about for years and years and years. So I went on holiday with this guy called Carl, really big, good-looking guy. He's got the triangle-shaped figure where his shoulders went out and then he went in at his waist. He was good-looking. He was taller than me. He was musclier than me. And we went on holiday together in Ibiza, walking down the street. And I always remember these girls whistling. And I'm thinking, definitely look at the whistle at me. And one runs up. All I was interested in is Carl. And they wanted a picture of just him. And I was like, oh my God. And I do think, last year I used to think about that because I don't want to be that person. I suppose something that really motivates me is that I want to be Carl. I don't want to be the person who is on the sidelines. And another thing is that I never want my wife to look at anybody. I don't want anybody else to have a better body than me, a better physique. And so I use that as I remember when we did this exercise, I think I used Claire thinking about somebody else with a great body and looking at somebody else and thinking, or going to, I don't know, one of those nights where people serve you. I mean, she's never gone to one of these nights, but where the topless waiter and stuff on a hen do or something like that. I was picturing that and thinking, and she was laughing and joking and saying, "Oh my God, what a great body he's got!" And I'm thinking, Jesus, that proper hurt me, and not hurt me because us blokes do it as well, but that motivated me, and so I wanted to be that person. And so, yeah, you're so right. You've got to use some pain as leverage to make sure that it motivates you along your journey. I love that analogy. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, we do. And I have a goal setting masterclass for all my nutrition clients that I know it's basically lesson number one in the nutritional masterclass is how we set goals. And we basically work back from a period 3 years from now. So what do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? What does life want to look like? And we run it across what I call the 4 pillars or the 4 burners, which are, finance has got to be a thing, relationships, health and well-being, and self-development. And I say, go and work on a 3-year mission. We then bring that into a 12-month mission, a quarter mission, and then we end up working backwards from that 3-year point of pain. You say, okay, the point of pain is a trigger. What you're going to use to leverage, because if you don't, you end up in a place called the valley of despair because you're away from the pain point. You don't have leverage to keep moving forward, and you're in this valley of despair where you're okay. I don't want people to feel okay. I want people to feel great. I want people to look great. I want people to look in the mirror and think, I like what I see. I want people to be able to get dressed and not have to think about it or worry about it. And I want people to be able to strut and walk, chest held high, smiling, full of confidence. When you leave that point of pain, you just become in a valley of despair. You're not going to go back there because it's painful, but you're not going to move forward either. And that's my job when you come into my coaching, to say, okay, what are we going to do to make sure when we come to that valley of despair, we just smash right through it.
Yeah, I think we're both lovers of self-development as well. When did you get into the self-development space? When did you start, you know what, thinking I've got to be a better version of myself?
So it first started really with business. You know, I wanted to understand how to grow business, how to be a better boss, you know, to the guys and girls in the office. And, you know, I wanted to sort of put the aim on self-development. So it really started with finding you, you know, just sort of an Apple Podcasts is my podcast player of choice. And I was just sort of working on self-development, and I found hacking self-storage. And I just found your personality, you know, it just drew me in, completely drew me in. I love the fact that you were open and sharing, and that's what I do now too. I try to pay it forward as much as possible. From that just led me into, you know, basic Google searches, personal development books, top 10 books. I read a book by a guy called James Clear called Atomic Habits.
Yep.
And his whole mantra is the power of the 1%. And I use a lot of that in my coaching, that stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to go from 0 to 100 miles per hour, because what happens if you do that in a car and you don't go through the gears, you're going to blow up the engine. So people who try to drop weight too fast and they try to accelerate and go on these crash, stupid diets, Cambridge diets, shake diets, detoxes, what they're trying to do is take a car from 0 to 100, but they're staying in first gear. They blow up the engine, and guess where they start back? They have to go back and fix the car, buy a new engine and start back there. If you've got someone who just goes through the gears from first to second and third and learns along the way, guess where they're going to end up? A lot further along the path than the guy that's back at the garage with a broken engine because he's trying to do it too quickly without listening and learning. And that just comes from the power of the 1%, the marginal gains. It's just relying on that leverage to create 1%. And there's a story of, it's the Team Sky cycling team.
I was just going to mention it. I've got a podcast coming up about it.
Oh, I'll let you explain a little bit about it. But the 1% in that, it leads to phenomenal changes.
Yeah, all it basically is right, okay, how are we going to win the Olympics? How are we going to become the world's best? And they sat down and said, right, what can we do? What can we do? And this just basically started making these incremental improvements. What didn't on the face of it didn't make a massive difference, but these little incremental differences, these changes, these 1% increases, even less than 1% increases, made massive compounding differences at the end of the 4 years, at the end of the 3 years, at the end of the 2 years, whenever it was. And ultimately they became world champion. And I love that. I absolutely love that story, because so many people just think the 1% doesn't matter. I've got one of my friends, really, really good friends, really nice guy. He goes to the gym every single day. And don't get me wrong, he's got a good body. He's got a really good body. And so I was talking to him about protein. And I was like saying, so how much protein do you have then? He has no idea, doesn't track protein, doesn't understand protein. And I'm not saying that as a detriment, because that's exactly the same as me before I started working with you. I remember when we first started working together, you said have so many, try to get this much protein in your diet per day. And I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. I did that. And the next week you said, well, Dean, we're going to up it this week to that. I'm like, holy shit. What? Okay, right, I'll try it. And then the next time it was up it to that. And then now I've done my own research and talked to you as well. And I'm thinking, that's why, because the amount you weigh determines how much protein you need. And I didn't even know them basic sort of factors before. And so when I was hitting the gym when I was younger and literally hammering it 4 times a week, 5 times a week, no wonder I wasn't getting the results, because I just thought a quick protein shake, it did my workout, and that was my protein box ticked. And it's just not that. It's just a little bit of knowledge can go a massive way and can change your results hugely.
Yeah, and that's something I'm big on, is the education is the key for me, because everyone gets caught up on there's so much conflict on the internet. There is so much marketing bias in terms of do this, that people just get caught in a constant yo-yo cycle. I mean, my mum's a typical example. My mum has dieted for 40 years. 40 years she has paid into memberships for Weight Watchers, Slimming World, Scottish Slimmers, you name it. You shouldn't be dieting for 40 years. You should diet once. One time you should diet, like the one time you go through your driving lessons. And when you pass that test, you should never, ever be in a diet again. Never have to diet again. Now, you may reduce your calories because you've got an event coming up, but you should be able to maintain your weight. My mum has lost 4 and 5 stone, piled 6 and 7 back on, lost 3 and 4 stone, piled 4 and 5 back on. And she continues to say, oh, I'm just going to go and join the slimming world, even though she has a son who is a qualified nutritionist who can help her and tell her she is so warped by the marketing of these people, and they want to confuse you. They set you up to fail. And a quote that I want to put on record is that Richard Somner, who was the financial director of Weight Watchers, specifically let slip in an interview one time that 84% of their revenue is recurrent revenue. They deliberately set you up to fail, so you have to keep coming back.
They've got skin in the game.
You should never have to go back. Never ever. If you're going back, people say to me, oh, I'm going back on this because it worked the last time. If it worked the last time, you wouldn't have to go back.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because they've got skin in the game. They've got skin in the game. And so when anybody else when you've got, when you're, if like Weight Watchers, obviously, if you come back and then it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where it can't, if it works, you wouldn't ever need to come back. So I don't understand how that system can ever work and why people ever come back. But why does your mum keep coming back to it then?
Because what they do is they put you onto a plan. So when you follow this plan to the letter, predominantly for the majority of the population, it will work. What they're doing is they're creating a calorie deficit, which is what I do in the numbers and educate you on. They're creating that by telling you there's guilts and there's sins and there's points and there's all this sort of thing. But they don't teach you why that's a calorie deficit. They don't teach you how and why it's working. They don't teach you how to navigate. So let's just say you've got a night out on Saturday night and you go a night out on Saturday night. So you go to your club on a Monday, you weigh in, you have your week, you go out on Saturday night and you go back to the club the following Monday, 7 days later, and you weigh in and you've put on 1 pound. A little slap on the wrist and suppose you must do better. That will inherently ruin your relationship with food. It will make you feel terrible. You'll go away with your head down, feeling sorry for yourself. And you probably then end up emotionally eating because you feel sad and you're going to correct it the following day. I see it so many times. But because when you're on that plan, it works. As soon as you come off that plan or deviate from that plan, you have no idea how to navigate a night out. You have no idea. You're saying you had McDonald's and fish and chips and we still lost quite a lot of weight quite quickly while eating foods you love, because I educated you and told you how to do these things, how to go out for dinner with your wife and enjoy it, how to go to McDonald's with the kids after soft play and not have to only have a Diet Coke, but you can have a meal, and how to track it and fit that in with your lifestyle. They don't teach you that. They just tell you to go back on the plan. And people continue to go back on the plan, come off the plan, and they have no idea how to live a healthy lifestyle because they haven't been taught anything. They've just got a book that talks about points and sins, and they sin themselves and feel guilty, and end up binging and restricting like my mum for 40 years.
It must be frustrating for someone like you as well. I think the thing that made me pull my trigger and work with you was when I saw you was walking, doing one of your walking videos, and you was having a Mars bar, ice cream Mars bar. And I was like, holy shit, what? I was having an ice cream Mars bar. He's this guy who's massively in shape. He's he coaches people how to lose weight. He's a nutritionist, and there he is having a chocolate Mars bar. Looks like he's having the time of the world. And then I saw you have, I think it was a McDonald's egg McMuffin or something like that he was having. I was like, right, that's it. How was this guy do it?
Yeah, I mean, and people often say that, if you sort of go on my LinkedIn and things, you'll see that shape that I'm in now, and people say, how do you look like that? You're a nutritionist, you should be setting an example. Why are you sharing pictures of McDonald's? And that is the whole thing, the whole mentality of that I'm a nutritionist, so I shouldn't be in McDonald's. I should be eating, lettuce and cucumber from a plate and an ice cube for dinner. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time, but I understand if I don't have a lot of time, I can swing by McDonald's drive-thru. I can get a bacon and egg McMuffin. I can get a flat white coffee, and I will still lose weight on that week if losing weight is my goal, because nutrition is a numbers game. I track that. I make sure I hit my protein, and I enjoy my life. Yeah, I don't have it all day. Sometimes I'll have cereal. Sometimes I'll have a protein shake. But if I'm short on time, I can swing by McDonald's. I know I can fit that in my day, fit it in my week. I know I can rerun the numbers, and it's a huge, huge thing for me. the numbers and the data, particularly with, sort of having found your podcast and listening to KPIs and targets and what the numbers mean. That's all we do. We just track the numbers, and from that data, that gives us the biggest chunk of information to make the best decisions going forward.
Yeah. So, Tommy, before you go, could you give the listeners? So, say there's somebody out there thinks, yeah, do you know what? I need to do something now. I want to make a start. This is the pole in the road here now. I want to make sure that I don't go backwards. I want to make an improvement. 2022 is my year to be healthy, not just for everybody else, but for me as well. Can you give us 3 things, quick wins that we can do to help us lose weight?
Yep, I can. The first thing is quite simply, and I'll sort of go into a little bit more detail, is just to move more. So you have something called NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It is your daily movement. It is the biggest thing which will have an impact on your weight. Dean, you're throwing out and thrashing out 15,000 steps per day, and it's had a profound impact on your weight and your lifestyle. It's simply just get outside. There's so much science now that dictates, and how I work is I just try and get 2 30-minute walks in per day. That is simply it. You don't have to count your steps if you don't want, but just moving more. That is the biggest change I can ask of anyone, is just to move more. If you're currently, desk job or overhunt or posture is poor, just every 5 minutes out of every hour, just get up and walk. Get yourself in direct sunlight. That's point number 1, and it's the biggest thing. Point number 2.
Can I just say one thing on that? For me as well, how to get the steps in as well. If you're on the phone, most people sit down on the phone. Just go for a quick walk while you're on the phone and talk to people. That massively helps me.
Yeah, there's loads. I mean, when you go to the supermarket, park in the furthest away spot to the main door. You'll be surprised. Again, this is taking it all the way back to the 1%. How these little small changes. Don't take the elevator, take the stairs. Yeah. All these little things. Really and truly, if you're drinking water and you've got a 2-litre water bottle by your desk, change that for a 500ml water bottle. That will mean you'll have to walk to the water machine or the tap 4 more times in a day in comparison to a 2-litre water bottle. It is all these little incremental 1% changes that have the biggest profound effect, and that is a promise from me. The second thing, which is going to sound a little bit left field, is concentrate on your sleep. There is so many studies that show sleep has a profound impact on how much you eat. There's a study done in America showing that people who had less than 6 hours sleep are likely to eat 559 calories more than anyone who had 7 hours plus sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, the science and the data. So I call sleep the biggest competitive advantage that you can have. That doesn't cost you money. You don't have to pay for it. You just have to get in better routine. I know you're asking for quick wins, but sleep impacts 2 hormones called ghrelin and leptin, which basically increase your hunger, reduce your ability to control that hunger so you eat more. So focus on your sleep. I know that entrepreneurs have this hustle and grind mindset. I promise you it is doing you more harm than good. I genuinely mean that. And if anyone wants to reach out for the science, for the peer-reviewed studies, pick my brains, are more than welcome to. And number 3 is you cannot master what you don't measure. Start to track your food. It can be as simple as if you have 2 sugars in every tea or every coffee in your day, reduce that to 1 sugar. So if you have 4 or 5 a day, you're looking at about 16 calories per teaspoon of sugar. If you reduce that, you're going to reduce 100 calories in your day without doing anything else. You're making no changes to your life whatsoever. You've saved 100 calories a day. That's 700 calories over the week. That's then 2,800 calories over the month by not doing one simple thing other than reducing a sugar in your tea. Look for the simple, easy wins. And what I always say is make the good choices easy and the bad choices hard.
Oh, I love it. Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. I love it.
Yeah.
So in terms of tracking your food then, is there any app that you use that would help do that?
So the one I recommend, there are a few in the market now. The market leader, as far as I'm concerned, is still MyFitnessPal. It has the biggest user database. It has the most users, and it's the most simplistic. You have the ability within that app to track food barcodes. which really just scan the barcode, it tracks the amount. If you have a look, hopefully don't mind me plugging this, on my YouTube channel, I will show
plug
you
away, buddy.
how to track, why to track, how that all matters. That is just chapter 1, nutrition coaching on YouTube. And it's all free resource. As I say, my ability and my values are just to impact as many people as I can. So I give away a ton of free information, and that'll show you how to use the app, why to use that app, how to calculate your starting calories. And you basically just take the data from there and monitor, review, adjust, just like you do in any business, any sales targets. If you hit your target, no, why not? We didn't get enough leads. Have you done that? How many calls have you made? Okay, we have to up the calls by 10% next month. That's all that we are doing, taking the data, reviewing it, changing it, and adapting.
Integrating and improving. Yeah, I love it. So, Tommy, if somebody wanted to get in contact and think, yeah, do you know what? I want to work with you. And by the way, it is nowhere. I was just saying, Tommy, before we started recording, I was saying, Tommy, you're too cheap. It's nowhere near as expensive as you think it will be. So, Tommy, where can people get in touch with you?
The best place is probably just LinkedIn. It's just Tommy McNee. You will see my handle that it's just got Fat Loss Expert. And by the way, Dean, it took me a lot of time to say that I am an expert, because, you know, the whole imposter syndrome, you know, am I an expert? But I am. I deliver unbelievable results for so many people. But 100%. I believe now that I'm a fat loss expert and removal company director. So I've been where you are. I've been too busy. I've cried tears. So LinkedIn is good. Instagram is Tommy McNee Nutrition Coach. Just reach out. I just want people to chat to me initially. I don't want to go down of, here's the website, do this, do that. Come and speak to me. I will give you all of my information and resources for free. Do with it what you will. And at that point, if you think, actually, you know, I want the accountability and the education of coaching, we can set that up after having a chat.
Yeah, and absolutely. And by the way, you don't need to be massively overweight to work with Tommy. I don't think that I was massively overweight at all, but I just wanted to improve. And so if anybody out there just wants to improve a little bit, then yeah, Tom, I can honestly say, Tommy, you have massively, massively changed my life, the way I look at food, the way I approach it. The biggest thing for me was I didn't realize, it sounds stupid this, but I didn't realize how many calories were in beer. I was setting myself up for failure just purely because I didn't, it's not food, so there's no calories in it. I was just like, well, not quite, but I didn't realize to the extent how many calories in it. And so that one thing just massively changed for me.
Yeah, and there's so much of that, Dean. There is so much of it. Another one that I see happening all the time is people come and say to me, you know, much like you, I'm not fully overweight. I want to be a little bit healthier. I want to understand. Maybe I just want to lose a little pounds. I just want to look and feel a little bit better. It doesn't have to be dramatic change that you're looking for. It might just be to educate yourself so you going forward don't have to go back and rely and go back on another diet. But oils, you know, I'm eating chicken Caesar salad for this. I'm doing this. Okay, what are you cooking in it? Well, I'm cooking it in oil. I'm cooking it in oil. Okay, well, those oils carry hundreds of calories that you're ingesting. So although it looks on the outside that you have a really healthy and efficient diet and having all these fruit smoothies, you know, they're highly calorific. And we're just talking about calories in, calories out, eat less, move more, you know, and it's not as easy as that. But when you break it and strip it right back down, if you've got 400 or 500 calories of oil that you're cooking your lunch and dinner in, you know, that's the kicker. That's why you're not losing weight. You look healthy, you feel healthy, but you're not losing any weight because you're not tracking everything that's going in.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm smiling my head off because I've only just remembered when I first started working with you, I didn't understand. So I had some oats and I had some frozen fruit, 3 different frozen fruits, and I didn't realize how many calories were in it. And I think I had some yogurt as well, some yogurt with protein and stuff. And it was over 500 calories. And I thought, I'm winning the day here. And it was 500 calories. It was crazy. Since we started working with you, I haven't had that because the nutritional value wasn't actually as much as I thought it was either. And it wasn't good for me. It wasn't, what I thought was good for me was not good for me. And I think it was 556 calories or something like that when we weighed it all out. And I was like, oh my God, I'm literally having a massive amount of my calories just in this shake that doesn't even fill me up anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But from the outside looking in, should you have shared that picture on Instagram or LinkedIn or anything like that, it looks great. You know, it's got the fruit, it's all cut up neat and tidy. and you think to yourself, you're getting 1 of your 5 a day, 2 of your 5 a day, you're getting micronutrients because fruit carries micronutrients and vitamin C, vitamin K. But when you actually measure all out what's in the flask or what's in the smoothie maker or what's in the bowl, the calorific value of all of that looks healthy is anything but, because it's impacting on the goal of fat loss because it has too many calories.
Yeah, I love it. Tommy, thank you so much for your time, mate. I didn't realize how long this chat would actually last. And so I really, really appreciate it. But is there anything else that I haven't asked that you think I should have asked?
No, Dean, we are absolutely golden. I would just like to say thank you very much for investing in me in the first place and investing in your own change, and 2, for inviting me on to share my journey and hopefully impact other people too.
Do you know what? I genuinely think that if I'm sure this will help more than one person, but if it only impacts one person, I think we've done our job, because the self-confidence that you, believe it or not, I did need to increase my self-confidence, and believe it or not, you massively help that. So if we can give that gift to somebody else, that knowledge, and just feeling better about themselves and increasing their lifespan, then I just think it's an incredible message, buddy, that you've got out there. And if I'm honest, I'm actually kind of jealous, because what am I doing in self-storage? I'm literally trying to make as much money as possible. And what you're doing, you're impacting lives. And don't get me wrong, I want to impact lives. So I want to do this. And so there's loads of things I want to do after self-storage. But right now, you are actually impacting lives for the better for people. And so I take my hat off to you, matey. It must be so rewarding what you do.
It's massively rewarding, and when you get messages, I mean, I share various pics with permission, of course. And I had a female client of mine who sent me a message. I think I shared it on LinkedIn just a week or 2 ago. Who has said she had managed to come off all of her mental health medication just from my coaching.
That is brilliant.
And she literally says I had changed her life. And for me, I'm just a nutritionist who wants to improve my life. I'm always looking for those 1%. How can I be more efficient? How can the business be more efficient? How can I do this? How can I do that? What book can I read next? What can I take? What can I implement? Looking for those 1% wins across all those 4 burners that I spoke about earlier. And when you can have that profound impact on somebody else's life, that they can go to their doctor who hasn't been able to get them off mental health and anxiety medication for a period of 6 or 7 years, and nutrition has been the catalyst for this lifestyle change, that's when you take a step back and you're like, whoa. And I'm very, very bad for giving myself a pat in the back. But yeah, when you're impacting people to that level, it's a really, really good feeling.
Tommy, you're a great man, buddy. Thank you so much for your time, pal. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dean.